Welcome back to the Pesky Report. This is episode 537 of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. My name is Derek, and I'm here with Jake and Hunter, as always, for the minor league show. First things first, shout out to the guys. Was it Matt, yourself, Hunter, and Jordan with the Peyton Tolley interview? Shout out. So if you haven't checked that out after this, go check that out. But we've got a lot to talk about here. It's been a lot of moves involving the Red Sox and the minor league system. There's been trades. There's been the Rule 5 draft and everything around that. There's been a couple of other things, let's just say, I guess is kind of the way to put it. So let's kind of dive into everything. Jake, I know you have the list of everything that happened. So I'm going to hand it to you because I don't have a list right in front of me.
Yeah.
So Jake, what has happened?
There's been a lot. So I mean, the Red Sox have been criticized for not making a lot of big moves so far this winter. They made 2 trades, and we will talk about those trades. But the Red Sox have made a lot of transactions since the season ended, and we're going to kind of run down a lot of them. I figured that maybe a good place to start would be maybe we start with sort of the most recent stuff and then work our way backwards. So the Rule 5 draft happened on Wednesday of last week. We're recording this on Sunday night, the 14th. And I think that the expectation was that the Red Sox probably they were going to end up with somebody, whether it was they were going to take someone with their own pick or there was somebody that they were eyeing that they wanted that was going to go in a higher pick and they were going to make a trade. That's what happened with Justin Slayton. That's how Justin Slayton ended up with the Red Sox. And in this case, the Red Sox had an open spot because of the Vaughn Grissom trade, and we'll talk about that. That's probably the next thing we'll talk about after we talk about this. And they were able to get they lost somebody. They lost Jeddickson Paez to the White Sox, which was kind of a shock in terms of not only just was it a shock, it was a shock. He was the second pick in the draft. Like, I think Paez was kind of far down the list of guys. Like, we thought it was, I think we expected it was a possibility that he would get picked. We talked with Tyler about that, I think. But he was like further down the list for me, and I think for a lot of people. And so we'll talk about Paez in a second, but I do want to talk about who the Red Sox got. The Red Sox got Ryan Watson from the A's via the Giants, and he was picked by the A's, and then the Red Sox traded for him. If you like built a pitcher in a lab for what it seems like the Red Sox are trying to do with their pitchers right now, like Ryan Watson would fit really well. 6'5", very big frame, elite extension. Doesn't throw super hard. His fastball's a little bit straight, but like it has sort of upward plane to it. It has good ride. And then he mixes his pitches. He throws like 4 different pitches. He is 28, so he's not, young necessarily. He has not pitched in the big leagues yet, but I think he will get every opportunity to win a spot out of spring training with the Red Sox. And then again, as like kind of, it's a guy who has a really good shot at doing it. And I think that there's, it was clear. I think that I had seen that the Red Sox had been interested in him for a while, and they had tried to get him from the Giants, like in spring. I think it was in spring training last year or something like that, and they couldn't work it out. So obviously he was somebody that they identified. They figured he was going to get taken before their pick, and they identified him, and they made the trade. So the trade going out was Justin Reimer. And Reimer had been the Red Sox made in 2023, I believe it was. The Red Sox had 2 compensatory picks for guys that they had lost. And one of them was Christian Campbell, and the other was Justin Reimer. And Reimer had dealt with some injury issues in college, and I thought that he did a pretty good job in the Red Sox minor league system. Just a guy that could make good contact, good to just a solid overall offensive profile and as a player, but not a guy that's like projects to be any kind of a star or anything like that. He probably, I'm not even sure how far he would have gotten this year in the system. It's not like he was banging on the door of even. I'm not even really sure he would have been banging on the door of being in AAA next year, maybe. So that was the cost to get a guy that could be your in your bullpen, and so that's we'll get it. Maybe we'll get into Paez next, but Hunter, I'll turn it over to you if you have thoughts about that trade.
I want to mention it here too because we joked about it a little bit before we got on. Just a quick callback to the Bob Nightingale tweet 12 hours after the move happened, and Red Sox Twitter for all of 15 minutes got excited until they realized it was just Bob Nightingale being Bob Nightingale.
Thanks,
being
Bob.
crazy late on something that recorded by 800 people. It's first off, their track record over the last few seasons when it comes to the Rule 5 draft, getting Garrett Whitlock, getting Justin Slayton, it's hard to not get a little, I don't want to say irrationally excited because it's not like I'm like, oh my God, Ryan Watson's the next great pitcher in the Red Sox bullpen. But like it does increase the excitement level a little bit of clearly they see something in this guy that they saw in the people from the past that have all worked out very well. And he has, the surface numbers, the ERA, the batting average against, whip, all weren't like eye-popping great or anything, but he was striking out a lot of people. He wasn't walking a ton of people. Like you said, fastball, like the velocity is not crazy, but we've seen what the Red Sox can do with velocity. They have worked wonders with a lot of people recently. Obviously, the big one is the person we just had on the show yesterday, Peyton Tolley. Dude was throwing 90 when he got into the system. He's up to 100, and he even in the interview even made it seem like he might even have a little bit more, but he kind of wants to focus on other things at the moment, other pitches. So it like this, he's 28, yes, but it's still not a finished product. There's still something. Anytime you go to a different team, they're going to have different philosophies. There's clearly something the Red Sox saw that they were like, hey, the San Francisco Giants weren't doing this with you, but we can, and we can make things work, and maybe it won't be the greatest thing in the world, but again, looking at the track record of the last few seasons, it's hard to not believe in the process, trust the process. Going old Philadelphia, going a couple years ago, Philadelphia 76ers on it. So it's a Rule 5 pickup. It's nice in the sense of if it doesn't work out, it's not this big massive thing. Like, sure, they traded up for the pick, or however you want to word it. So they did lose Justin Reimer in the deal, but like at the end of the day, you're not, mortgaging your future on this. It's a interesting move. And it's hard to not feel like the Red Sox know what they're doing because they've proven that in the past.
Yeah, I think with any Rule 5 pick, it's interesting just in terms of like the whole, like, yeah, you got to keep on your roster thing, which is, it's a weird thing where I think some people look at it and they're like, oh, this is a guy who's never pitched in the big leagues, and now he's forced to stay on your roster the entire year. He's not technically forced to stay on your roster. It's just obviously you have to offer him back should you decide to take him off the roster. But God forbid if a Rule 5 draft pick and just any Rule 5 draft pick, if they suck, the team isn't forced to keep them on their roster. It's just preferable because then you're losing that player, right? When it comes to Ryan Watson, obviously, like you said, Jake, they're going to give him every chance to win an opening day roster spot. And because it's a guy that they've been interested in before, obviously, if they were going to get him at a previous time, they would have had to have traded for him anyways, right? So the fact that they technically traded for him, they would have had to have traded for him anyways if they wanted him outside of a Rule 5 draft. So I guess, in my point of view, the only difference that comes with a Rule 5 draft is that he has to be on the big league roster, right? And he's going to be on the 40-man. But outside of that, there's nothing like extra about the whole Rule 5 restriction that I think is an issue. It'll be fine. And I think at least the idea, especially picking a reliever in a Rule 5 draft, with the reliever, you can always kind of stick him in the back end of the bullpen, not back end, like I guess front end of the bullpen, but like the part of the bullpen, like back in terms of like he's not the first guy he's not your reliable guy, that number one go-to guy out of the bullpen. He's going to be, he's going to start off as a less important piece of the bullpen, and he'll have the chance
mop-up role or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and he'll have the chance to grow as the season continues. And I say the word grow. Yes, he is 28 years old, but especially with relievers, we've seen relievers be late bloomers before, and we've seen relievers, not really have success until they're 30, 31, 32, right? So just because he's 28 doesn't mean he can't grow. And also, too, sometimes for relievers, it's just opportunity and getting in the right system as well. And with someone like Watson, he is a guy who kind of fits what the Red Sox want. Big, large human being, really good extension. It kind of fits, right? So it'll be interesting to see what the Red Sox do with him as well. See if there's anything that they see there that maybe they want to tinker with a little bit. Maybe, pitch like a certain pitch. Maybe they want to change a little bit, or maybe add a certain pitch. Who knows? But it's going to be interesting to see what the Red Sox do with him. And it won't be a shock when he's probably on the opening day roster. Let's be honest. He's probably, as long as he's healthy, he will most likely earn a opening day roster spot, right? And I think that's why the Red Sox targeted him. They believe that he is an MLB caliber reliever. So I think it makes sense. And also, too, it's how the Red Sox got Slayton. It's how the Red Sox got Whitlock, right? Rule 5 draft. They've had success before as well. This isn't a, what's the word I'm looking for? This isn't just a hope and pray situation. The Red Sox have had success doing this with relievers before. There's no reason they can't continue that success. So, with that, Jake, what's the next thing on the list? Or do we want to talk about? We should probably talk about Jeddix and Paez.
Yeah,
because
I was just saying,
this is a. You did mention a little bit how it was kind of shocking that he was, especially the second pick, but the amount of guys where I think the three of us concerned, whether it was Hayden Mullins, whether it was someone like a Yordani Monegro, who kind of on Help Bastardo type situation, right, with him. And Bastardo got taken by the Blue Jays last offseason. Having Tommy John probably going to be out all of 2025. It's a chance for a team to potentially take him and stash him on the injured list, and then, see if he's ready the next year. So the fact that the Red Sox were only lost Paez, but then the fact that he was a second pick is very interesting. But also, too, the thing with Paez, that we were talking before the show how we started recording was we're not really worried about him sticking with the White Sox. But then again, the White Sox are that bad where they might just bite the bullet and keep him in the back end. I should stop saying back. Keep him in the, the mop-up role of the bullpen, basically, for the White Sox, which is a role that probably gets used a lot. Let's be honest. And chuck him in. The Red Sox lost Thaddeus Ward a couple years ago to the Nationals, and he was on that big league roster the entire year, and I don't think he's pitched in the big leagues since then, right? Like, these kind of things happen sometimes, especially with teams that are bad, where a guy like Paez might stick, unfortunately. But then again, he hasn't pitched at all in the high minors.
Right.
So what is going on with the Paez pick? That's more so the thing that I'm questioning. What's going on?
Look, I think that Paez has been somebody that there are all along, like the last few years, he's been somebody that has had a lot of polarization. Like, there are people that follow the prospect stuff that look at Paez and look at his ability to throw strikes and his ability to have command of all of his pitches, and a lot of the metrics and the under the hood numbers with him and the under the hood factors with him, and view him as a potential future big league arm easily. And then I think there's others that are like, well, whatever, he doesn't throw hard. Like, he's not he's not this, usually he's kind of in this around 80, even as low as 88, but up to, that never really gets up to 95. Usually he's in that 90 to 92 kind of area with his fastball, but is a guy that can always, gets movement on it, can can spot it well, and then has, really good, has a great changeup, and, good stuff overall. Um, but yeah, then others look at him and they're just like, they don't really see it. And so I'm not surprised that there were other teams interested in him, but I was surprised that of the guys that could have gotten taken from the Red Sox, that Paez was the pick. And again, it would be one thing because Paez was hurt for a good chunk of last year, but he came back and pitched for Greenville, and and made seven starts, I believe, through about the end of the season, and he looked really good. He had 23 strikeouts and just 3 walks in 19 and a third innings. So obviously that was enough for, a team like the White Sox. And the fact that the White Sox took him second makes me wonder if, they probably didn't think he was going to last. Like, as they could have had, I think they had, a pick in the next round too. Like, they probably didn't think he was going to last. So, yeah, I was floored. Like, I was watching live when it happened because I am that nerd that watches the Rule 5, the video feed of it live. When Paez was the second name off the board, I was floored by that. I think that I totally agree that you can never really predict what the White Sox are going to do when they're a bottom feeding team and they're not going to be good next year. And so it is very possible that Paez sticks around with them the whole year. He's healthy. It's not one of these things where they can stash him on the 60-day IL for the whole year. And I think it is equally as likely that he's back with the Red Sox at the end of spring training, and probably would start the year in Portland. But I was surprised by that, and again, I was very surprised that nobody else got taken. You mentioned Hayden Mullins, was surprised he didn't get taken. I was you mentioned Yorani Monegro. I was more surprised that Jeremy Wu Yellen didn't get taken, like, just because as a guy that's like this kind of hard throwing lefty that can really, can get guys out with his stuff and is like a ready-made reliever.
There's a little bit of smoke around his name too, as like day of as well.
Yeah, and similarly, but a guy with some health concerns has had a lot of health concerns. But yeah, I'm not, the Red Sox come out of this, and we'll talk about the minor league guys too, because they got 3 guys, they lost 3 guys there too. I come out of the Rule 5 thinking that it could have gone way worse for the Red Sox than it did. And I think that just losing Jeddix and Paez, who I think there's a high likelihood he comes back, I'll take it. I don't know.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I think both of you did a good job of highlighting that Jeddix and Paez is a very good prospect. So like, we're not taking anything away from him. It's just like the guy threw 19 and a third innings last year, and they were all in IA. He's never pitched in Double A before. He has a lot of things going for him. The command, like, the most walks he's ever had in a season was 13, and that was 2022 in rookie ball. It's 9, 13, 12, 12, and then 3 and 19 in the third innings last year. And the big thing has been the uptick in strikeouts. In 2024, he had 113 and 96 and 2/3 innings. Last year, he had 23 and 19 in the third innings. And that was like the big thing in 2023. It was like, yeah, he's not walking people, 12 walks and 84 in the third, but he also wasn't really striking people out, just 73. So like the massive steps in that area were phenomenal for him. But he's had the injury last year. He's never pitched 100 innings in a season before. He hasn't gotten to Double A yet. He doesn't throw hard, so like, he's going to have to really rely on that pinpoint accuracy at the moment, which he has shown, but he's also shown like slight upticks in the velocity, and the secondary pitches have been getting better, and he has some very good secondary pitches. But he still feels like someone who is, a full season away from really being discussed as maybe major league ready. Like you said, if he comes back to the Red Sox, probably starting in the season in Portland. And it's like, at the end of the year, there could absolutely be a discussion of like, oh, Jeddix and Paez could be ready for the team in 2027, or maybe it's like, oh, he could help the team for a playoff push in September if they need him. It doesn't feel like he's there yet. It is the White Sox, as we've all said now. They did improve last year, but you polish a turd, it's still a turd. So Paez, I will be very sad if he's actually gone. But to me, that's one of the best case scenarios of players to be taken because there's such a high likelihood that he's coming back. Like I had already basically written Hayden Mullins out of the Red Sox system. Genuine shock that he wasn't taken. Like you said, Jeremy Yelland, I think it was on Section 10. I didn't see the tweet, but I think it was on Section 10. They mentioned like that Castillo said that there was talks of him being the first pick of the Rule 5 draft. So like he was mentioned a lot. And another guy, like a super hard throwing lefty, looked fantastic out of the bullpen last year, had some really cool moments in Portland. And he like the injury issues. He's someone that like, if he's healthy, I think he's going to make a massive impact. Like that's what's held him back so far. You know, he gets drafted in 2020. There's no minor league season. And then he deals with injuries. And so he's someone that like I think could make a very real impact soon, especially with the Red Sox getting rid of a lot of lefties, which we'll talk about later. So like he could be someone who ends up on the major league roster at some point this year. And then Yordany Monegro, we talked about it the last time we were on before the Rule 5 draft. Very much in the same boat as Angel Bastardo was the year before, where he was hurt. So it kind of gives teams a reason to take him because it's like, hey, now we get to stash him for a year and have him build and work on things and figure it out, you know, kick the can down the road. And I feel bad saying it because I said it last time too, and I'm not trying to shit on the guy, but Yordany Monegro is objectively a better prospect than Angel Bastardo was. Like he just viewed as a better prospect. He was putting up much better numbers in AA than Angel Bastardo was. So just very shocked that no team took the risk on snatching him up and getting to stash him for a year as he recovers from Tommy John and, you know, having to figure it out in 2027. As terrible as it sounds saying like, oh, yay, Jetix Baez is gone because I'm not happy about it. This was outside of no one just being taken. This was one of the better case scenarios for the Red Sox because in the end, they might not lose anyone from the major league portion of the Rule 5 draft. There are some minor league players that were taken that we will discuss in a little bit. But overall, Red Sox have to be happy with how that went.
Yeah, Paez might be back in like 3 months, potentially.
Yeah, exactly.
Crazy. I just want to mention this. Just it's a little bit sad, but like, kind of. It depends on how you look at it. Our 2023 Salem Big Three: Perales, ERC, Paez. 2 of them aren't in the org now.
Yeah.
Right. Albeit ERC got the Red Sox Carlos Narvaez. Right. We're not gonna, you know, ERC brought the Red Sox value. So like,
and Paez could still be back, and Luis Perales is a demon. So
yeah. Oh no, for sure. But like, it's kind of it's a little bit sad though in terms of like Perales. Obviously, he ended up having to get Tommy John. Like Yordany Monegro pitched on that team as well that year. Later in the year, like
I just think it's. I don't know if it's sad. It just speaks to like how
the
much
volatility of
how volatile, especially like young arms.
That like that's the state that like that's not considered like sad. I guess more so. It's like it's not that that's the state of like pitching and pitching development. It's like, oh well, this guy's got Tommy John. It's like yeah, he's gonna get it eventually.
Exactly.
The more so that like that's what's sad about it because 2 of those guys have a Tommy John. One's been traded, albeit for Carlos Narvaez, and the other one just got picked in the Rule 5, right? Could be back still, like we mentioned, but it is kind of crazy how that was 2 years ago, and those are like the future gems of like the Red Sox pitching development. And now you look at the just pitching depth throughout the org, and it's like, not to say those guys have been overshadowed, but with the amount of the absurd amount of talent they've brought in on the pitching side of things, where now you have guys like Tolley, Early, etc., just run down the entire list, right? Those guys are a little bit overshadowed in some ways. And Perales too, because he didn't really pitch much this year. It's not really his fault, right? But he didn't pitch much this year. Minor League Rule 5 draft. The Red Sox lost Jonathan Brand to the Rangers, Alvaro Mejias to the Rays, and Iverson Polanco to the Angels. They selected Caden Vire, Matt Lloyd, and Rodelis Martinez in the minor league portion of the Rule 5. Can I just say Matt Lloyd has a beard that looks like, well, he's based on Spring Training prospects, has a beard that looks like it's meant to hit homers in Polar Park. Like,
I can see that.
I could see that guy hitting a bunch of homers in Polar Park. I just can't.
He will be 30 during spring training next year.
Who cares?
Next year.
I could see him hitting a bunch of homers.
It's exciting.
In Polar Park.
It's great. Like
I can see it.
You need guys. You need those guys. Those guys got to fill out rosters, and so it's exciting.
Also, Red Sox, don't have many first basemen, so like.
He's like the least sexy of the picks because he's gonna be 30. But
it depends on who you ask.
But they need, but they need first base depth. Like that's been a thing for them, especially in the minor leagues. So getting someone who has performed well in AAA, as likely your Worcester first baseman, I think that's good. It helps the development of the infielders. Around them, it helps. It gives you someone to put in the middle of your lineup, and he becomes desperation depth if you need him on the major league roster.
It also makes it so it's not just Nathan Hickey there as well. Like there's that other side of it as well. It's not if God forbid something happens to Tristan Casas again, because unfortunately it's kind of the state of Tristan Casas where coming back from such a devastating injury, who knows, right? Obviously, assuming the Red Sox would probably get a big league first baseman at some point this offseason, or at least someone who can compete if Casas isn't going to be ready by opening day. But it gives another AAA option. It's not just all the weight gets put on Nathan Hickey's shoulders to basically be the go-to if anything happens to Casas, right? So that also helps as well, just add into that point. Jake, you have anything?
I would, as far as the other minor league Rule 5 guys go, Jonathan Brand is a guy who's been in the organization for a while. I think he was drafted in 2022. Kind of just a depth arm guy that kind of showed flashes at different times. He had like kind of some weird like up and downs from different parts of the organization. He did get to AAA this year briefly, but Hunter, I'd turn it over to you because I know that you, Caden Vire was a name that you looked into him a little bit more as sort of a lefty, probably a lefty relief arm potentially, that is like pretty intriguing.
Yeah. So obviously we talked about Lloyd. I do just want to say with Raúl Martinez, just another catcher. The Red Sox have really stockpiled on catchers this offseason, which is awesome because that was a massive area of need for them, was just minor league catching. They had very little of it, and they've gotten, I think, 4 now this offseason. So that was clearly something that they pinpointed as, hey, we need to figure something out with this. And all of them seem interesting. So that's cool. They all have different things going on. Martinez walks a lot, doesn't strike out a ton. Good contact. Seems like he was praised for having a really good arm going into the draft. Like there's a lot to like about him. So he adds on with Luke Heyman, Adonis Guzman, and Ronnie Hernandez as all people that they added. And then Caden Vire. Yeah, I was talking to someone in the system, in the organization. I'm really intrigued by him. He put up miserable numbers last year in 5, but it was just 5 appearances in single A. He threw 3 2/3 innings, a 19.64 ERA. He struck out 7 batters, but he walked 10. So that's clearly something they have to figure out. But he's 22. He's 6'6", only 170 pounds. He's got good extension. With that frame, obviously, there's a lot of muscle. There's a lot of mass that he can put on. Maybe help with like the velocity, work on secondary pitches. It's just he has swing and miss stuff. You need to work on the control, but that's kind of something you tend to see with a lot of the younger guys. Obviously, we were just talking about Jetix Paez having ridiculous control, but that was what made him so intriguing. Is you don't see that often from guys that age. There's a lot of projection with him. So like you're starting with like this mold of clay, but it's like you can already see something in that mold of clay, which getting that in the Rule 5 draft, in the minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft, I think is the way to go with these. You're usually not going to get some like, oh, this is a really good prospect. Like what teams do is they throw all the people that they don't want to lose onto their AAA roster technically, and then those guys are unavailable to be taken. It's why you'll see names like Hayden Mullins not get taken in the Rule 5 draft, because the Red Sox are just like, oh, he's on Worcester's roster, and then they're unavailable. So you go for these guys where it's like the team didn't protect them for this, but it's kind of like what I talked about with Ryan Watson. They see something that the other organization didn't see. And it's just, he's one of those guys who I think at the very least, we're going to see like 5, 6, 7, 8 performances from him this year that have fans talking. You know, he'll likely start. He'll likely start as he'll likely be a starter, is what I'm trying to say, at this stage in his career. And like, I think we'll see outings where he goes, 4 innings and strikes out 9, 10 batters. And there's going to be a couple really gross strikeouts in each of those games. And I think fans are going to really be intrigued by him. Like, I think that's the kind of the bare minimum of what we'll get, is we'll see those flashes of, oh, this is why the Red Sox liked him. Oh, the breaking ball is really gross. Oh, again, like, he has really good extension. And he's a massive human being. It's kind of the Peyton Tolley effect of, it makes his fastball get on pitcher or get on hitters that much quicker. So like, if they can work on his velocity and stuff, which again, they did with Peyton Tolley, and I don't want to compare him to Peyton Tolley. That is not fair to basically any prospect. But my point just being, like, the Red Sox can tweak things and figure things out and work with what they're given. And he just seems like that perfect, mold of clay for the Red Sox to do things with. We've seen, it's not just Peyton Tolley. We've seen them do so well with pitching prospects over the last few years, especially since Craig Breslow got there, and they've added all this pitching lab stuff. And we've seen it with Peyton Tolley. We've seen it with Connolly Early, David Sandlin, even Jedix and Paez. Like, his velocity was increasing, even if it was at a slower rate. Yordani Monegro, another very obvious name of, like, he wasn't that big of a name going into single A, and they've gotten his velocity up a little bit, and they've worked on his breaking balls. And it's just, I mean, I could sit here and name basically every starter on every team on every minor league level last year, of players who improved, players who showed even just flashes, Blake Wehunt, Trenner O'Donnell, like, all these guys have given us moments of, this could be someone real. So I think that was a really exciting pick, the one that I think has the chance to make the most waves in 2025 or 2026 for the Red Sox.
Just for reference, let's be careful with what numbers we put out on her. You went on a stretch of numbers from 5 to 8, but kind of a little bit dicey nowadays. Just saying, little bit dicey.
Kids.
Yeah. Making me feel old.
Today's damn kids.
Making me feel old.
Jake's like, I feel old.
I'm wearing a headband
every day
tonight because I noticed it last night. I got my hair cut on Friday because I was like, oh, 2 podcasts in a row, I should get my hair cut. I want it to look good. Woke up yesterday, massive pimple on my forehead. So I was like, screw it. I guess I'm not showing the haircut.
Helps you feel
I'm
young.
Gonna wear so I say I'm feeling old, but pimples make me feel young. 32,
Yes.
Still getting pimples.
I'm almost 40 and I still get pimples, so it's good. All right, so I will
just mention Hunter. You mentioned said the what was it, the old what did you mention earlier on the show? You said it was something that was a couple years ago, and you called it old.
The Sixers, the Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Sixers.
Oh yeah, trust the process. You call that old. I was like, how does Jake feel about you calling something that's only years old?
That's why I kind of changed it.
I get it.
I mean, technically that was like 8 years ago. That was
the trust the process.
Joel
that was longer ago than that.
Around. Yeah,
it was like 10 years ago.
I was in college.
Yeah,
so
wasn't
like
10 years ago. The Embiid draft wasn't that like 2013?
Yeah, because they didn't debut those till like 15,
2014. Yeah, because he missed his whole first year.
Yeah, just like Ben Simmons. Trust the process.
Boy.
Basically, all rookies get injured.
This turns into a Sixers podcast.
I can't really discuss this, one, because my brother's a Sixers fan, and 2, because I'm a Pelicans fan, so I have no room to talk. The most cursed franchise of all time. I'm not going to get into
Derrik
it.
Queen trade.
Speaking of cursed,
on the pick.
Speaking of cursed, the Red Sox traded Vaughn Grissom.
That's a great
That's a great segue.
That was the next thing. Like, if we're just working backwards, like, the Red Sox opened up the 40-man spot for the Ryan Watson trade. I think that was like, the winter meetings were not exactly not a lot of actual activity happened with the Red Sox. But when the Grissom trade happened, it was like, oh, this could be for the 40-man spot for the Rule 5, or it could be there's something else that's going on. Ended up being that they needed it for the Rule 5 pick. And I don't know how much time we want to really spend on Vaughn Grissom himself. I mean, it didn't work out.
Yeah.
The whole thing, just about a 2-year stretch, is traded for, like, was behind the 8 ball from the beginning because he was traded for a franchise icon, and
gets sick.
Doesn't help that, he gets sick. It doesn't help that Chris Sale is great in his 2 years, wins a Cy Young Award with the Braves.
Wasn't going to happen in Boston.
I agree with that 100%. It was time.
I do think it shows how much he meant to Red Sox fans, though.
Yes.
That, don't get me wrong, Red Sox fans are like mad that he's not on the team anymore, but everyone was rooting for him.
Yeah.
No one was like, oh,
exactly.
I hope he gets hurt and doesn't get the Cy Young. Everybody was like, yeah, dude, go get the Cy Young.
Awesome. I mean, I was rooting for him to not make his last start because he didn't pass Screwball and strikeouts, and it won me $250. So yay me.
That's different.
That's a little different. Yeah, it's not quite the same what we're talking about, but and then he this past year, the Red Sox had so many issues in terms of guys getting hurt and like options and stuff like that, and the Red Sox just kept passing him over. And I know, Derek, you like talked to him in Worcester and stuff like that, and like it just was not going to fit anymore. So now he's going to go to the Angels, a famously stable organization, but he should get more.
Play there, though.
He should be able to play there. I think that there's a lot of talent there.
Fangraphs has him as their opening day second baseman. Just for the record, albeit they have Christian Moore playing third base, which is another kind of questionable. It's the Angels, though; they're questionable. Like
they are. So speaking of them, they traded the Red Sox Isaiah Jackson, who So the Red Sox. We mentioned this. Hunter and I talked to Caleb Berry like a couple weeks ago. I was talking about like how the Red Sox didn't draft a lot of position players like this past year. But one of the things that we'll talk about when we keep talking about more of these trades is that they've traded 4 guys who were draft picks in 2025. And Isaiah Jackson was one of them. He was taken in the 8th round out of Arizona State this past year by the Angels. And he is somebody that it seems like he might give like Nelly Taylor and, some of these other guys like a run for their money as like being like the top defensive outfielder in the system, because he can go get it. He is a pure center fielder, and there's video of like highlight reel plays that he made. He did play at high A this past year. I have a feeling he'll probably start next year in Greenville. Maybe he could be in Portland, but for a guy like Grissom who had no future here, you trade him, you clear up that 40-man roster spot, and you bring in a guy in Jackson who at least seems like he's going to be exciting to watch. And
him and Taylor in the same outfield in Greenville. Hello.
Yeah, it's going to be great. And we'll see how far his bat carries him. If his bat can carry him, it seems like he has the defensive traits to possibly be a contributor in the big leagues, at least from a defensive standpoint. But he's a ways away. But it was certainly an intriguing, interesting guy to pick up in exchange for this guy, for a guy in Vaughn Grissom who had no future here.
Yeah. I mean, you did pretty well talking about him. There's really not too much else to say. I do, like you said, worst case scenario, he seems like a very exciting player to watch. And like Derek said, him and Nelly Taylor in the same outfield. There's a chance we see him, Nelly Taylor, and Miguel Blaisall in Double-A too. Like, and that's something. And I'll throw in if it's him, Nelly Taylor, and Yoferi Rodriguez in high A. Like there's going to be very fun combinations somewhere along the line. And that's something, just to plug the Peyton Tolley interview again. I asked him, like, what was it like? You're in high A and your outfield is Miguel Blaze, Nelly Taylor, Yoferi Rodriguez. Like, that had to be a very comforting feeling. And he basically said Nelly Taylor is Cedar Rafaela in the outfield. Like he said, there's balls that people will watch Cedar Rafaela get to, and it's like, how the heck did he get to that? And he's like, that's Nelly Taylor. He's like, he's different in center field. Like it's the plays he makes. So just adding to that outfield, like I think that's something. So it gives all the Red Sox minor league teams this massive advantage. They've had these elite defensive outfilders for years now, like going back to Cedar Rafaela, and then you throw in Nelly Taylor and Miguel Blaze, and like now you're adding Isaiah Jackson, and you have Stanley Tucker and what's his name? I feel terrible. They just drafted him.
Skylar King.
Thank you, Skylar King. I had said Stanley Tucker, so then Stanley was still stuck in my head. Yeah, Skylar King, who showed incredible outfield abilities, and that's what you're getting with Jackson. Is you're just adding more fantastic defense, and you're adding a ton of speed, and those are things that, you know, speed doesn't slump. Defense, I mean, I guess you could get the yips, but for the most part, defense doesn't slump. Like these are such winning traits, and I think that's such a it's a good trade-off. Like you said, clearly they weren't using Vaughn Grisham. Like you said, they had so many issues throughout the entire year, and they even had issues at the start of the year when Vaughn Grisham was tearing the cover off the ball. Like there was a point where people were saying Vaughn Grisham should be the answer at first base because he was playing fantastic and Tristan Casas was playing terrible. Like literally before Casas even got hurt, people were saying, like, what about Vaughn Grisham at first base? Because he's been fantastic. And like the Red Sox just clearly had zero interest in using Vaughn Grisham. So getting anything for Vaughn Grisham is a bonus. Getting someone who, I want to look this up before I say it because I don't want to seem stupid. Was he a 5th round pick? Am I making that up?
Jackson?
Yeah.
No, he was an 8th round pick.
8th round pick.
Thinking
Okay.
of somebody who we'll talk about.
You literally said he's an 8th round pick like 5 minutes ago too.
I did.
Fine. I don't. No, I did.
Oh, you?
Oh,
did.
Jake did. Oh, well. See, that's a me moment. See,
So you were the one that wasn't listening.
But
kidding.
Yeah.
To be fair, I couldn't remember who said it. So like that tells you how bad my memory is. Like,
but yeah. So getting someone of that value for someone who clearly just was not part of your long-term, short-term, any-term plans.
Right.
Yeah. Just I think it was such a fantastic move by them to add an exciting guy. He was the 25th ranked prospect in the Angels organization. The Red Sox system is better, so he's probably not going to be in their top 30. But he's someone who could absolutely get in there. Like he was a 8th round pick in last year's draft. So there's still plenty for him to learn, plenty for him to grow. A very savvy move to get someone of that caliber and Vaughn Grisham's still very young, and he's still probably seen around the league as someone who can, like, when he first got called up with the Braves, he was one of the best prospects in their system. When the Red Sox traded for him, he was basically still one of their best prospects. He wasn't a prospect anymore, but like they're probably a lot of people around the league who still view him as someone who can be a long-term major league player. And I hope he is. He had a lot of moments in the Red Sox organization where I felt like he deserved a chance. And it sucks. It sucks the way everything went down. Like Jake said, he was already behind the 8 ball, you know, getting traded for Chris Sale, and then Chris Sale being so good. And then he gets sick, and then he gets hurt, and then he's struggling when he comes back because he had lost so much weight. And then at that point, you know, you get Christian Campbell becomes who he is. And it's just like, man, and everything that could have gone wrong for Vaughn Grisham in the Red Sox organization went wrong. So it was time to cut ties. I can't imagine he was very happy with the situation. The Red Sox clearly weren't super happy with the situation. And they figured something out, and hopefully now he gets a chance to play in the majors and have a long career. And the Red Sox get a fun young prospect who checks a lot of boxes and gives them another really fun outfielder, which you could argue the Red Sox don't really need more of those, but it's never bad to have too many of a good thing.
like that is shit. Can never have too much. That was I'm gonna move on a little bit. Just that day was an interesting day. That trade happened on the 9th. That day we also found out Brian Mata signed with the Amori Giants. So just a note on that. I'm very interested to see what he does. We've seen a guy like Darwinson Hernandez go over to Japan and very much have success in Japan as a reliever. Darwinson cut his walks per 9 to like 2 point something, which for him is like outrageously low for him, right? It'll be interesting to see what Mata does. Unfortunately, if you want to watch Brian Mata play, good luck, because the Central League does not broadcast their games internationally in any way, shape, or form. But if you want to watch Darwinson Hernandez pitch, you can figure out where to watch Pacific League games. So they're around on the internet somewhere. You'll find it if you really want to look. So it sucks. We won't actually be able to see Brian Mata pitch this year. But
do those games get broadcast in Japan?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, the Central League gets broadcast in Japan, but only Japan. They don't broadcast at all internationally.
Because I mean, the team he's going to is they're the Yankees of Japan.
Yes.
It's the most story.
I'm sure some savvy swashbucklers could find a way to watch it.
But I've looked. There's no way to watch a Central.
I was going to say, I think Derrik is that savvy swashbuckler.
There are ways to watch the Pacific League. There's I forget what it's called off the top of my head, but like there's a way to like watch it. Although there's no like commentary, but you get all like the stadium sound for all the like the Pacific League games.
Cool.
And the only time you get to watch the Central League is when they're doing interleague play and they're playing a Pacific League team.
Yeah.
Like at the home of that Pacific League team. Right. So you might get like 10 games maybe to watch Brian Mata, and it's no guarantee he's going to pitch in those games. Right. Because he's a reliever. I think it's a very interesting move for him. It's a chance for like he legitimately could, like, we've seen guys go overseas to to Asia, whether it's Japan or Korea, and like really have like a career resurgence, or I don't know what the right term is, but kind of maybe they've struggled in AAA or the big leagues, or they've had injury problems. They go over to Japan or Korea. They're there for maybe a year or two, pitch really well, and then they come back over stateside and turn themselves into big league caliber.
Kyle Hart.
Yeah, Kyle Hart did it. Merrill Kelly was a guy who had success in Asia and came back over. There's been a few, right? So
Marcus Timms.
Yeah, there's a handful of guys for sure, definitely. Also on that day, I feel like it went very under the radar. Sox Prospects doesn't even have it listed on their transaction list. The Red Sox signed left-handed pitcher Alec Gamboa.
Might not be official. That might be.
It was a split deal. It's a split deal. It might not be official, but it's a split deal. Where if he makes it to the big leagues, obviously, there's something like money wise, I don't remember, but he spent his entire career, including the beginning of last year, with the Dodgers organization. In 2024, in 73 innings in AAA, he had a 3.30 ERA. Pitched 19 innings in AAA, then went over to the KBO and made 19 starts there and had a 3.58 ERA. Obviously, the KBO is not as high of a level as the NPB, but interesting considering that he was mostly a reliever in his minor league career, and then he went over to Korea and was a starter. So be interesting to see what the Red Sox do, but depth lefty, the Red Sox don't, have a ton of lefties kind of in that kind of bullpen mix. Sox Prospects actually has him listed in the Worcester bullpen, but he's not on the transaction log, which is interesting. But yeah, so that's a piece of the big league depth piece. I would assume they're going to put him in the bullpen just because that's most of his time stateside has been in the bullpen. But 28 years old. He also is a switch hitter, interestingly enough. Kenley Jansen vibes, maybe. Pitcher who's a switch hitter. How you figure that out? Beyond me. But I know Kenley was a catcher before, but I'm just, the point still stands. Other than that, there are some trades to talk about. Or actually, Cooper Criswell obviously is gone.
Well, that's related to the trade. Like we could talk about the
yes.
The
also, I just want to note Arizona signed Isaiah Campbell, so Isaiah Campbell is officially gone from the org, and the Red Sox.
I know
Vinny Capra to a minor league deal. So
I know Jake brought up Jonathan Brand. Did we say anything about Iverson Polanco and he is?
No, I didn't really. I mean, I know that Mejias didn't really. Well, he pitched in the FCL, right? And then
in 2023, I think.
Yeah, so those were the other guys taken.
But Polanco pitched quite a bit this year in Salem, right?
62 innings.
Yeah, Mejia is interesting just because he hasn't appeared in a game since 2023, and it was when he threw 2/3 of an inning in the FCL. So that's one where most people probably had zero idea he was even in the organization. And then Polanco, 22 years old, posted a 5.23 ERA in 36 games in Single A last year. 71 strikeouts in 62 innings, but he did walk 31. The Angels got him, and the Rays got Mejias. And then I completely just forgot to say about Brand. Because Jake did bring him up, and I just wanted to say we did talk about him a little bit in our award show. I don't know if anybody remembers that. We just kind of talked about how the Red Sox didn't seem to really have a direction for him. He pitched in high A, double A, and triple A, and it's not like he went from high A to double A to triple A. He started in double A, went to triple A, went down to high A, went back to double A. Like they were really just using him as we need a guy somewhere. And he put up really solid numbers, 3.16 ERA, 2.25 batting average against, 121 whip in 33 games, 59 strikeouts and 51 in the third innings. And he had been good in the past. Like he had been a solid reliever for them over the last couple seasons. So that's the big one of those three, which is why he was the one that was mentioned earlier. But yeah, just it didn't seem like the Red Sox really knew what they were doing with him. So it makes sense that he's gone.
Yeah. The interesting on Mejias, this is just like, I'm just gonna kind of pose this question as an like with the Rays picking him as an organization. Like, how do you come to the conclusion that we're gonna pick a guy who hasn't pitched in 2 years and has thrown 2/3 of an inning in the United States in his entire career? Like, I'm just interested how that thought process comes together.
Yeah, that is a weird one because, like, with Vire, I mentioned how, like, the Red Sox saw something that, the other organizations didn't see. But with Mejias, it's like, what could you have seen? He's thrown 2/3 of an inning in 3 years. Like, it's not like
he was good in the DSL in 2022 in his second year in the DSL, 1.23 ERA and 29 and a third innings. That was in 2022, and that's also the DSL. Like, that doesn't.
It could be a case of, though, like, maybe they wanted to sign him years ago, and the Red Sox were the ones that signed him, and they were like, "Oh, he's available now. Let's take him."
Yeah, but it is interesting. It's like he's basically never pitched state.
Yeah,
basically
he
like
basically doesn't exist. Like, it's amazing.
I do think we need to put someone on the case there. Is this a real person? This could all just be this could be big baseball trying to trick us.
Well, way back in the day, the Buffalo Sabres drafted a fake Japanese player in like the 10th round of the NHL draft back when it was like 50, or like it might have been like the 14th round, whenever it was like 50 million rounds. And they went through all the way till training camp, and they even put up a locker with a jersey for this fake guy that they made up because they thought it would be a funny joke.
Wasn't there something with baseball with that too? I thought there was like a big story of like a fake baseball player that Sid Finch, New York Mets prospect, 1985.
Yeah, he like threw like 170 miles an hour or something like that. I think it was Sports Illustrated. Like they just made him up. Like he wasn't
a prospect who could throw a baseball 168 miles.
168. Yeah, that's what it was. Yeah, it's a good poll.
People fell for that.
Oh yeah. People believe
it was
people. There's people that still believe Elvis is alive. Like,
the Buffalo Sabres in 1974 drafted a fictional Japanese player that they named Taro Sugimoto in a protest to protest the slow phone-based NHL draft process. They said that he played for the Tokyo Katanas, which was a fake made-up team.
See, like in 1974, you could absolutely get away with this.
And no. His name was inspired by a local grocery store.
Oh, okay. Wow. Well, this is taking quite a turn.
The NHL actually accepted the pick because obviously they didn't know, and this fake person became the first Japanese player ever drafted to the NHL.
I've never heard this story before.
It's amazing. They expected him at training camp. They like I said, the team gave him a locker and a jersey and everything, and all the reporters are waiting to meet this speedy Japanese center that they they drafted with the 183rd pick, just for no one to show up and them to reveal it was a big hoax.
Wow.
Like they straight up made up someone.
Well,
like they could imagine just like you're basically foregoing a draft pick to just pick someone who's fake. Like,
yeah.
Like you might as well just giving your draft pick away for nothing. That's literally what they did. That is one of the wackiest sports stories I like ever. Like they should have drafted a fake player. Imagine the Rule 5 draft, just draft a fake guy. Oh, minor league portion of the Rule 5 draft comes around. The Red Sox select, Jimbo, whatever the heck, from the Chicago White Sox.
Billy Big Balls.
Yeah. Billy Big Balls.
And they drafted him from the Chicago White Sox because I doubt they even know who's in their organization. They gave us Yoiker for Harder for Cam Boozer. Like
exactly.
No offense to Cam Boozer, but like
take that still. It's great.
Speaking of the White Sox, can't wait for them to trade us Kyle Teal back for a bag of chips. All right, moving on. There are a couple of trades to talk about. Which one do you want to talk about the Sonny Gray trade first, since it happened first?
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of working chronologically backwards, but like, yeah, that one. I mean, I know it was a while ago. We haven't talked about it. Some of these things since they happened. So I think that we don't have to talk about Sonny Gray, like that's been covered to death.
Yeah.
But like, Fitz obviously had quite an important role at different times. Richard Fitz had quite an important role at different times with the Red Sox this year. I think that if you look at this trade, and then obviously you look at the next trade that we'll talk about, which Johan Oviedo came over, and the guys that have developed in the Red Sox system since they acquired Fitz back, for in the way back of the Alex Verdugo trade, he just wasn't as important to their plans, and I just think that I don't know that his pitch mix and what he could do, I would work as a starter, and I know he's going to get the chance to be a starter with the Cardinals, but I do wonder if ultimately his best role long term is as a reliever. I think it was a smart gamble for the Cardinals to take, and then Brandon Clark I think is the most significant prospect that the Red Sox have traded this offseason so far. And I think that we were all super excited whenever we had the chance to sort of see him pitch last year. I know in spring training last year, I think he pitched in one of the sort of like, futures games.
He started.
He started. That's right. He started. And you could just see like he struggled like that first inning that he pitched in that game. And then he was good. They took him out. They brought him back in. And he was really good. You just see how electric his stuff is. But I think just a few things like, he was injured this year. I think he had issues with blisters too, right? Like, I think that there's significant reason to not be positive that he's going to be able to be a starter long-term in his career. And he has all of the traits and the abilities to be a potentially very nasty shutdown lefty out of the bullpen. A lot that I like about him. But I think that for a team like the Red Sox, if he's kind of the main piece going in a trade where you're going to get this sort of, a guy who was really statistically like a top 10, top 15 starter in MLB last year, albeit on a 1-year deal. And it's a situation where you have to have, the Cardinals be willing to eat some money in order to make it kind of palatable for both sides. A guy like Brandon Clark made sense for him to be the kind of guy that they would give up. Once again, it speaks to the depth that the Red Sox have built for pitchers in the farm system. There's guys that we haven't seen. We keep forgetting. I think it's easy to forget. There's a lot of guys that we haven't seen pitch yet. Like we haven't seen Kyson Witherspoon pitch. We haven't seen Marcus Phillips pitch. We haven't seen Anthony Ianson pitch. Like these are guys that, and Luis Perales missed almost all of last season. Think about where Luis Perales was in terms of a pitcher in the Red Sox system before he got hurt. So Now it's like we kind of sometimes it's hard to like remember that he's there, and we're going to get to see him next year in Portland, and hopefully, possibly be or in Worcester, and probably almost certainly factor into the big league mix next year. So, yeah, that's the cost of doing business, and I think both of those guys are going to a situation where Chaim Bloom is trying to build something up, and they'll get opportunities to succeed. I think, like I said, Fitz will be part of the Cardinals' rotation probably to start the year, and Clark is somebody that could move up fast through their system, especially if they. I'm sure they will exhaust their options with him as a starter, but he's somebody that could get to the big leagues really quick because of his stuff as a lefty that throws really hard. So I think it was a good trade for both teams ultimately. And the Red Sox have built up so much pitching depth that they could do this.
Yeah, I think you kind of described Brandon Clark perfectly, where this is a trade where in 2 years Red Sox fans could be like screaming, like, what the hell were we thinking? Or it could be a trade where it's like Brandon Clark's still in high A, struggling with his command. He's very much a like two outcomes kind of guy. It really feels like either things are going to click with him when it comes to the health and the command, and he's going to become just utter filth because his fastball is disgusting, his slider's disgusting, or that command continues to be an issue. And I mean, this is a guy who didn't throw more than I think like 4 innings in a game last year. And that was partially due to pitch count issues. Like, there were a lot of games where he was having 35 pitch first innings, and it was like, well, there goes any chance of him going deep in this game, because especially in the minor leagues, you're on very strict pitch limits. And the Red Sox aren't going to just deviate from that because they're like, well, we want to see him go 5 innings, so let's keep him out there for 120 pitches. Like, no, if his pitch cap is 50, he might throw 51 pitches if that last at bat takes a couple too many pitches. Like, they're going to be very strict about these things. And like the potential is so clearly there with him. The talent is so clearly there with him. But like you said, they just have so many pitchers in this system. Like, a couple years ago, it might have been a different story. It might have been like, the Red Sox don't have a lot of good pitching, and this guy looks like he could be something. But now, like you said, they have a lot of people who they drafted last year who didn't even pitch yet, who are all very highly considered. They have Yordan Monegro, who's hurt. They have Connolly Early and Peyton Tolley, who made it to the majors. They have David Sandlin. They have Hayden Mullins, who they ended up not losing. They had, like, there's just a disgusting amount of pitching in this system. And like, not all of these guys are going to make it to the majors. Not all of these guys are going to be the answer. So like, you kind of have to decide, and it goes both ways, because maybe that's who the Cardinals wanted, but there's also every chance that it's like, this is who the Red Sox were willing to give up, because Brandon Clark, I don't want to call him a lottery ticket because he is a college guy. He did make it to high A. So like, they might view him as much more developed than other people. You've mentioned it multiple times now, Jake, where if they wanted to, if a team wanted to, they could probably just make him a reliever and get him up into the majors by some point next year. Like, he's got that talent. But there's still like that lottery ticket-ishness about him. Just being that he hasn't pitched much in the minors. He's still very young. He only threw a couple innings in high A. And clearly the Red Sox were more comfortable trading him than someone like Yorker Fajardo or Juan Valera, who are 2 other names that we haven't even mentioned yet, of just to show off the absurd pitching in the system. And then there's other guys closer to the majors. Shane Drohan, who, another name that we didn't really mention, not lost in the Rule 5 because they 40-manned him. Tyler Uberstein, who was 40-manned. John Hulabitz, who they traded for last year, who looked phenomenal when he got called up to Double-A especially. It's just like, at some point, it's not even just what is the plan with them in the majors, because like, it's literally what is the plan with them in the minors, because we saw it last year where there were people who were starters who they had to put in piggyback roles or put in the bullpen because they were like, we have too many starters. What Hayden Mullins started the year in high A. He shouldn't have, but he had to because they had too many starters in double A. So like you're running into these massive log jams and you have to get rid of someone, and you get a really good pitcher back. I know some people were underwhelmed with Sonny Gray, but he's a very good starting pitcher who should help the team immensely next year. And I think he's going to be a big help for a lot of the younger guys too. That was something we talked about with Peyton Tolley. He said he hasn't gotten a chance to talk to him yet, but immediately he had people in the system be like, hey, you're going to love Sonny Gray. Like, this is a great teammate, someone, a great pitcher, someone you can learn from. So like you get a really good veteran back on a team that made a playoff run last year. And if Roman Anthony doesn't get hurt, I'm not saying they win the World Series, but they probably make it farther. I think they at the very least beat the Yankees. So like there is serious aspirations with this team. Obviously, hopefully they make some moves in the offseason, or more moves in the offseason, and get some bigger names. But they needed to make a move, and to make good moves, you have to give up some good players, and Brandon Clark has every opportunity to become something special. Like we saw how electric he was last year. But the Red Sox and the Cardinals, I guess, but the Red Sox clearly determined that this was someone that they could move without destroying anything. And they have so many other pitchers in the system to fill that void, to continue to be exciting and to give hope for the future. So losing Brandon Clark hurts, but you're getting a really good veteran pitcher in return. Losing Richard Fitts hurts, but his role was even more in doubt, in my opinion, because obviously Brandon Clark's further away. I have no idea what they would have done with Richard Fitts if he was still on this team next year. It's never bad to have a ton of pitching depth, but it's like we've talked about with Quinn Priester, where at some point you do have a lot of it, and it's like, we got to move. Like, hey, if we can move this guy to improve this area, let's do it. And Richard Fitts was likely low enough in that pecking order where he was probably like the 9th or 10th starting pitcher. Like they had, especially with like Peyton Tolley and Connolly early leapfrogging him, and David Sandlin's in the mix, and Luis Perales is in the mix now. And like they had to make a move. And I think that it was a very fair trade for both sides. And it's hard as a Red Sox fan to be too upset about getting a pitcher like Sonny Gray.
There's two ways to look at this trade. You could look at it as, the Red Sox traded Fitts, who's at worst big league depth, and Clark, who has the potential to be a legitimate starting pitcher, for Sonny Gray. Or you can look at it that the Red Sox moved Alex Verdugo and $400,000 to lead into Sonny Gray. That's not really how it works, but also like the fact that they turn Alex Verdugo into Greg Weissert, 2 years of Richard Fitts, Nicholas Judice is still in the system, and $400,000 because that's the signing bonus that Brandon Clark got. The fact that they turn Verdugo and that $400,000 into Weissert, 2 years of Fitts in the org, Judice, and now at least 1 year of Sonny Gray.
And
pretty impressive.
The Yankees, so that's
pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive, right? Like that speaks to the play development, because Clark, a guy who, a year and a half, not even a year and a half ago, they signed for $400,000 with their and out of the draft, gets a $400,000 signing bonus, and not even a year and a half later is the premier piece in a trade to get you Sonny Gray.
Yeah,
who is, let's be honest, Sonny Gray is probably at worst a number 3 starter, at absolute worst, right? And if the Red Sox go into next year with Sonny Gray as a number 2 starter, I think they're gonna be fine. It's not perfect, but they'll be fine, right? And I think that's kind of a compliment to the Red Sox player development, that you can turn a guy like Clark, you can recognize the talent and then help develop him to the point where, after only one full season, that he's, that headlining piece to get you Sonny Gray, right? And Sonny Gray is a proven, MLB pitcher who can be the number 2 in your rotation if you need him to be, right? That's impressive on the Red Sox player development side of things. So yes, you can look at it as, well, they just traded a top 10 prospect in the system who has a very high ceiling, or you can look at it as they just turned $400,000 plus Alex Verdugo into Sonny Gray.
Yeah.
Right.
And I do want to make it clear, I'm not trying to bash Brandon Clark. I am very high on him. I don't want it to seem like, oh, Hunter was just hyping up Brandon Clark a month ago and now he's acting like, no. I still genuinely think he has a chance to be very, very good. But there's also, it's impossible to deny that there is varying outcomes with him. Whenever you see someone that volatile on the mound, like that's just always how it's going to be. It's the same thing with a prospect who strikes out too much at the plate. It's like, all right, well, there's a clear thing that needs to be fixed before they get to the majors. And that's what it is with Brandon Clark, is he needs to work on that command and not throwing multiple 30 plus pitch first innings. But the raw talent is very much there.
Yeah, and this is also a big reason why having a good farm system is important, as well as having a good big league team, and also having good player development is important. There's a reason the Dodgers are so good and are going to continue to be so good, because the Dodgers are rolling out, right now, like you might look at parts of the roster and be, it could be better, but then you see guys in their system like Zaire Hope, for example, who I'm like stupidly high on, and it's just like, oh yeah, he's not even the number one prospect either. Like he's not even the top prospect, outfield prospect, and it's like, there's a reason the Dodgers have been so good for so long, right? Not only their big league team, but their farm system and their player development is amazing, right? And I hate to say the Red Sox want to be the Dodgers of the American League, because like you can't be the Dodgers, right? But like in terms of, you want to have a good big league team while also having a good minor league team and be able to replenish the talent that you're losing, whether it's to the big leagues or for trades for big leaguers. And effectively for the Red Sox in this trade, Brandon Clark is a win for the Red Sox in terms of you draft him in the 2024 draft in the 5th round, right? $400,000 signing bonus, an underslot signing bonus, might I add, and he's your headlining piece to get you Sonny Gray. That's a success from a Red Sox point of view, right? That's why having good player development is crucial, especially too. There's 2 ways you can go about player development. It's you're creating big leaguers in terms of developing the players and those guys become your big leaguers, or developing the talent that then gets moved off to bring in big leaguers. But you still have to replenish the talent that you lose in those trades, or that guys that get called up, you have to replace them. And that's why, drafting well, having good player development, turning guys, look at someone like Cedar Rafael that signs for $10,000 and, is a goal, should have won the Platinum Glove. The fact that that's a fan voted award is BS, but that's beside the point. But like, that's why having a good farm system, that's why having good player development is so important. Obviously, I'm pretty sure everyone listening to this is probably aware of that, but for the people who maybe don't listen all the time, or or don't pay attention to the minor leagues, we're not saying you have to pay attention, but like, this is why it is important, right? That's why you don't just go in, that's why you can't be, I don't know, I can't think of a team, you can't be like the old Yankees who just throw money at all their problems.
So
right?
I'm glad you brought. I was going to wait to bring this up, but I just to plug myself a little bit. I did finally, for the first time in like a year and a half, I wrote something for Beyond the Monster, and it was really talking about this point, which is there was this whole Sean McAdam anonymous quote from an agent about the Red Sox they don't believe in long-term deals, which it's bad when like his colleague then had to clean that up and say, actually, it was about free agents in their 30s, because literally in the last year, the Red Sox have given out long-term deals to players, not free agents, but to their own players. And the point that I tried to make in that is that there are many paths that you can take to being a championship level team. I went historically and looked, and that like there's only 4 guys on any of the 4 Red Sox championship teams who this current Red Sox like ownership had signed to a long-term, a 5 or more year deal that started in their 30s. And in fact, 3 of those 4 guys, it was just 5-year deals. And the David Price was the only one that wasn't, that was a 7-year deal. But the other 3 guys, JD Drew, John Lackey, and JD Martinez, was all 5. It was just guys on 5-year deals. And the point I was trying to make is that the way the Red Sox have been successful, the way that they have built their championship teams, is you build through the farm system. You identify the guys that you think are going to be your core, and you extend them. You keep them. You buy out their free agent years. And then you trade for guys that are other team stars that either they can't afford or for whatever reason, you get them, or they're kind of at the end of their contracts, like a Sonny Gray, this situation here. And then the last part of it is you use free agency to fill out the rest of your roster. And this is not an excuse for the Red Sox to not go out and spend money. It's not an excuse for them to not finish deals for guys that they want. They wanted Pete Alonso. It didn't happen. They didn't get there with him. You look at the way the Dodgers built their team was through building through the farm system and then trading for guys and extending them. It wasn't until they signed Freddie Freeman and that which was a very reasonable contract. And then they signed Shohei and they signed Yamamoto. And they got to that level where
Yamamoto
Blake
was
Snell.
only 25 as well. That's
True. That's
well.
The Red Sox really wanted him, obviously, right? And we know the Phillies did too, and the Yankees, those teams, that was a different case, right? It wasn't a situation where it was more I'm talking, I guess, more about the guys in their 30s, the guys that are veterans, the longer term guys like Freeman and Blake Snell and Shohei. You have to get to that point where you can do that and make sense. The Red Sox are at that point now where it does make sense to take some of those risks. But the way that the Red Sox have been successful is by you build through the farm system. You identify these, people bring up. So going down this sort of memory lane trip, I was reminded of the fact that, yes, everybody brings up the fact that the Red Sox in 2018 had the biggest payroll in Major League Baseball. They had the biggest payroll relative to other teams. But sometimes it's a little easy to forget that $40 million of that payroll was tied up in Hanley Ramirez and Pablo Sandoval. Now, and who replaced those guys on the roster? Who was taking their spot? Rafael Devers, who was making a rookie salary, and Mitch Moreland, who was a mid-tier for if you want to call him first base, or you could even say Benintendi, who was on because technically Hanley was signed to play left field. That went really well.
Good job.
And you could say, yes, JD Martinez was part.
I was going to say, let's not poop on Hanley. I love Hanley.
I'm not. I'm just saying that. I'm just saying that $40 million of that 2018 payroll was tied up in two guys who was tied up in dead team. Money, and they were willing to spend on top of that. But Chris Sale was making $12 million that year. And they were paying. They weren't Mookie Betts was in his his fifth year of arbitration salary, and the next year they gave Xander an extension so he wouldn't be a free agent. So it's this team, that greatest Red Sox team in history, was not built off the back of spending crazy money on free agents. The guys that they spent a lot on free agents were dead money on that team. They had to get rid of those guys so that other guys could come in and take their place. And it's David Price was the only one. And again, David Price was amazing in that World Series. But would we all say that the David Price contract was a good one for the Red Sox that worked out? No. So I'm glad you brought that up, Derek, because that was the point of my whole piece, which is just the way the Red Sox will – and the reason why the Red Sox haven't been good – they were in the playoffs in 2021. They were in the playoffs this past year. But the reason why they haven't been good is because it's not because they got away from the signing guys to long-term contracts in their 30s. It's because they got away from the building through the farm system and extending guys and keeping the right guys here, and that they didn't get back to doing that until really en masse the beginning of when they signed Bayo and Cedon. And then they did it with Anthony. They did it with Campbell, for better or worse. They've done it with Crochet after they traded for him. They've gotten back to that thing that has built the winners that the Red Sox have had all through these years.
Yeah, also too, on top of that too, is they're everyone complains, Red Sox should have extended Mookie Betts. Yeah, they should have, but the Hanley and Pablo money were ripe in the mind, and
exactly.
The David Price contract was not a good contract.
John Henry doesn't want to do. That's not how he wants to build championship teams.
No.
And guess what? What team has won more championships this century than the Red Sox? Nobody has won more. Right. So everyone can't say it doesn't work. But you have to. It's not an excuse to not spend money.
No,
you have to spend money. You have to go and identify your guys and it's whether it's the internal guys that you want to extend, which again they didn't do, and then or it's the guys on the outside. That's not an excuse to not spend money. It's an excuse to it's they need to spend the money correctly.
Yes.
And that's how they've won.
Yes, and there's nothing wrong with like everyone was like, I remember when Bogart signed to the Padres, or a bunch of people like, oh my god, he's they losing the. No, the Red Sox were never giving. Nobody.
No,
was
that
giving
contract
Bogarts
was
11
ridiculous.
years.
Like,
That's an extreme example.
You can make the
obviously.
argument that they lowballed him earlier.
Yes.
Like,
Yes,
they should have signed him 2 years ago. But they gave him a fair contract then in free agency.
Yes.
It's just the Padres were like, oh, what? They're giving you that much? Hey, we'll double it for
That
some
contract
reason.
is ridiculous.
Yes.
So
No, I know. It's like yeah, it's like, and honestly too, it's
And
part of
I
the reason
honestly
they got
think
Trevor
you
Story.
can. Yeah, I honestly think you can make the same argument with Pete Alonso.
Don't get me
I
started.
personally thought Pete Alonso would be a good addition to the team. I was pro Pete Alonso. I saw a lot of people getting mad at the Red Sox for not matching or outbidding the Orioles. The Orioles were bidding against who? Because no one else offered him even close to that.
I
like,
talked
it's not
to
like,
Jordan about this yesterday, and Jordan and I were like, did the Orioles just like take the contract they offered Schwarber, go to Alonso and say, here you go?
It sounds like they did. It does sound like that's what they did.
And then,
yeah,
and then Alonso's like, no, give me $1 million more per year.
Alonso's fine. Because people, like, it would be one thing if it was like, 10 teams offered Pete Alonso 5 years, $150 million, and the Red Sox only offered him 3 years, $40 million. No, the Red Sox offered him what almost every other team was offering him, according to the reports, I should say. But like, there was the report that they offered him like the option 4th year. Like, no one wanted to give him 5 years.
Yeah,
and I know that the argument is always like, oh, you have to accept with big contracts that the end of the contract's probably not going to be great for you.
Not like that.
But yeah, like, clearly 99% of baseball teams felt like 5 years for Alonso was just too many.
Yeah.
It's telling when the Mets don't even get involved.
And I
was gonna say, the Mets, the one franchise that he's been involved with since he was drafted, like they were like, no thanks, we're not doing that. Like that, and they're the team with the deepest pockets. So
and not to it's like Jake said, it's not an excuse to not spend money. Like, I'm not trying to sit here and be like, oh, the Red Sox shouldn't spend and everyone's an idiot if they
everyone
think
should
spend.
We should be the Rays and everybody should just
but it's just it's smart spending. It's
don't spend
not
money
breaking
for
the bank for one player just because, if we don't get him, fans are gonna be mad. Like, you should still follow your plan and figure things out, and it's worked for the Red Sox in the past. I know obviously there's been some down years recently, but they were trending up last year. And like Jake said, it's about
Juan Soto and Pete Alonso.
Yeah,
I'll just say that.
And it's like Jake said, it's about building through your farm system. And I feel like we hype him up more than people probably enjoy. But it started with Chaim Bloom building up the farm system. He did such a good job of making the Red Sox farm system elite because Dombrowski, for better or worse, obviously he helped the Red Sox win a championship. Completely gutted the thing. Like, it not even so much gutting as because, like, people can point to like, the Kyle Schwarber trade. They ended up really not giving up anything for that. Like, the prospect they gave up, I think, only pitched like the rest of that year and then never pitched again. Yeah. But it was also like the drafting. It was the acquiring of prospects. And that was something Chaim Bloom was so good at. Was the drafting was great, and it's not like it was all him. It's the whole system. It's Eddie Romero. It's whoever else.
I think the Phillies don't allow Dombrowski in the draft room.
Maybe not.
I don't think. I think that's probably what it is.
He sets the kind of tone, whatever, and then
But the Red Sox did a great job under Chaim Bloom of drafting, of adding prospects in free agency or in the Rule 5, in trades, whatever. And Craig Breslow's been good at it too. Like, I'm not going to take that away from him. What he's done with the pitching in this farm system has been incredible, and that has helped the Red Sox trade for Sonny Gray. They gave, it helped the Chaim Bloom's moves helped the Red Sox trade for Garrett Crochet, and it's like now the Red Sox are in a position where they can trade for these big names, but they also have people like Peyton Tolley, like Connolly Early, who have come up and already given you a glimpse of like, this Hunter Dobbins is a fantastic example because he was not as highly touted of a prospect as either of those two. And it's like you have these people who can help either by being on the major league roster or by being a massive trade asset. So yeah, the Red Sox are in a much better position than I feel like the doom and gloom of Twitter likes to make people think sometimes.
Yeah, if you want to talk about assets too, if Tolley or Early win Rookie of the Year, give me that draft pick.
Does Early count for that?
They're both still eligible. They both haven't exceeded rookie status. Early will be, because it'll be on the 2026.
But like, I think the question is about prospect status, right?
Yeah, I don't think Early's top one. Don't you have to be like top 100 or something?
But
I think
in the 2026 rankings, he'll be top 100.
You think so? Connolly Early will be? You think?
Oh, there's no ways.
Okay.
Tyson Witherspoon is a top 100 prospect, and Sauce Paspas has Early ahead of Witherspoon.
Which, speaking of the draft, I'm just going to throw this out there as just the quickest thing. We don't really have to talk about it if you guys don't want to. But the Red Sox did get do officially have the 20th pick in the upcoming draft. Just going to throw that out as announced the other day.
Because the Rays needed all the help they can get. Totally.
Of course.
Maybe the Rays will finally get their shortstop. That's not a terrible human being. I tell this to everyone. If the Rays had, if that guy wasn't such a terrible human being, the Rays would be the scariest team in the AL East.
It's very true. It's honestly is true.
Like they would be the scariest team.
Crazy to think about because the guy. I'm afraid to say anything further here.
I know, but but it's remember what's his face put out, was it Rosenthal put out the thing of like, this is why you shouldn't sign young superstars to long-term deals. And it's like,
he was clearly getting paid by someone, some MLB owners.
And it's like, it's funny because then it's just like
fans not to give players
like, we're still signing Roman Anthony long-term. We're still signing Christian Campbell long-term. We're going to sign everyone long-term. You know what? And that's what you should do.
It hasn't stopped teams from doing
and it's not always going to work out.
It's not always going to work out, but
also
it's worth the risk.
But there's also every chance in the world that Roman Anthony contract is glorious for the Red
Sox. 100%. And the flip side of we'll talk about actually. I think this is a good
more is like the flip side of it.
This is Well, no, this is a good
bad.
This is a good segue to talk about the trade with the Pirates because it is kind of related to Christian Campbell. I think
trading with former Red Sox execs I see as well. Both of those.
And hey,
Arizona, something happens there.
Is there something out there with the Diamondbacks? Exactly, maybe. No, the Red Sox. We don't have to talk about Oviedo necessarily because even though he does have minor league option left, assuming he'll be in the big league mix one way or another, but the Red Sox did get back two guys that we'll talk about. But the guys they gave up, of course, they gave up Password. Stinson Garcia. It's hard to see him go just from a personality standpoint, from a person standpoint. And then Jesus Travieso as well, who we talked about quite a bit on the show as, sort of a low, again, it gets back to that thing about the Red Sox had so many low level arms that they could deal from and high level arms too. But I think especially, a guy like Travieso, we'll talk about, I'll talk about him in a minute, but basically Password, I think, was expendable because the Red Sox have too many outfielders as it is at the big league level. And I think that it feels like they're heading in this direction where Christian Campbell is going to be kind of more of an outfielder than an infielder. And they want him to, the Red Sox have committed all this money to him. They want him to succeed. He's playing in winter ball. And I think that Campbell is going to maybe, even if he's not a starter every day in the big leagues, he might even have a chance to be sort of the fourth outfielder type, especially if they don't necessarily like a utility guy that's going. We don't really know what the plan is exactly with Christian Campbell yet. Where it could be that he is back in AAA possibly. He could be an everyday outfielder depending on the moves that they make. Feels like second base is kind of unlikely to start out, especially if Marcelo Meyer is still here. But I think the reason why I think that the way that faith in Christian Campbell and what his role is going to be is part of why they were fine with trading Stinson Garcia in this deal. And again, hopefully he gets a good opportunity in Pittsburgh. I think that long-term for a team like the Red Sox, Garcia was going to be a fourth outfielder, right-handed bat off the bench. I just don't think he did not look, it was such a small sample. He did not look amazing against big league pitching when he came up. And I think he, out defensively, he did did what they needed to do in sort of short stints. But and then Travieso, again, just a guy that they could depth that they could deal from. And you look at guys that have pitched in Salem this year, or other levels, not necessarily somebody that they felt like they had to hang on to. When you look at a guy like Yoiker Fajardo and other guys, like easy, not obviously a higher level, but also young, a guy like Juan Valera, who is pitching Greenville, but he's young, and all these other guys that are coming up that like we just talked about, that they're going to need spots for those guys. So Travieso was somebody that it made sense to move him. And then I guess we can talk about the other guys that came, but Hunter, I'll turn it over to you on the guys that they gave up.
Travieso, like 18 years old, still has a lot of filling out to do in his body. Could already throw 100. Like there's a lot of electricity with him, a lot of fun, a lot of projection. Like he's someone that, if you follow the minor leagues, he was like a fun guy to be like, man, what if? Like there's definitely a lot of what if with him. He could be very special, but also it's still a guy in single A who is working on a lot of things. When we talked to Caleb Berry, that was someone he mentioned as like, oh man, sad to see him go. It was a really fun to play with him for the short amount of time that Berry was there. But he talked about how like that was his first bullpen session in Salem, and it shocked him to see, like he said, the first few throws from Treviso were like mid 80s. Obviously, like you ramp up, and he said he was expecting him to top out at like 93, and he said it just kept going and kept going. And he said, and he hit 100, and it was like, this dude's 5'11". He barely weighs 100 pounds. Like it's crazy that he throws that hard. And not to throw out the term again, because I've thrown it out a ton, but a lottery ticket type of prospect where, low levels of the minors, still a lot of projection. Sometimes it works out. Look at what Yoiker Fajardo has already become for the Red Sox and how excited fans are about him. But that's kind of what these lottery tickets are for, are making these type of moves. And like you said, Yustinson Garcia didn't really seem to have a path with the Red Sox at this point, especially, again, like you said, with Christian Campbell seemingly moving to the outfield. Still a little iffy on that, just because Brian Abraham continues to go on podcasts and hype up his infield defense. So, like, I still think the Red Sox see something there. And I do like that he's doing that, because it's something that I feel like fans are like retroactively being like, oh, well, he was always really bad defensively. Like, no, there were people were high on his defense in the infield. And it maybe didn't help him that they were just like, hey, let's throw him at third base. Let's throw him at second. Let's throw him at short. Let's throw him in the outfield. Like that probably wasn't helping his development. But it's also kind of the curse of being as athletic as he is, where they were just kind of like, hey, everything's going to work, so let's just give him everything. But it was a case of just too many cooks in the kitchen for Yustinson Garcia. And it sucks that him and Johan Fran are never now going to play at Fenway Park together in Red Sox jerseys, barring Garcia coming back to the organization or something. But that pipe dream seems to be over. But they get a really interesting pitcher in return for a guy who was like their sixth outfielder, and a pitcher who has like 30 innings in single A. So that again, just a savvy move to get at the very worst starting pitcher depth. But like the big thing with Oviedo was like, he would give you these stretches of, wow, this guy's dominant for like 4 or 5 starts, and then he'd have a couple blow up outings, and it was like, oh yikes, this guy's not even going to get out of the second inning for the third straight start. But again, it's trusting the Red Sox pitching lab. They've done so well with so many people, and not to knock the Pirates too much, but they're the Pirates. like yeah, Paul Skeens is elite, but he's Paul Skeens. That doesn't really count. And you're trusting that the Red Sox can make a couple tweaks and make him more of a consistent pitcher. And I agree. I don't see him starting in the minors. I think that they want him in the majors immediately. And it adds to, we talked about them losing Richard Fitz. Oviedo is an upgrade to him, and he's still kind of more of a I don't want to call him depth because I do think he'll start in the rotation, but he adds to their depth is how I should put it. Like now, someone like Peyton Tolley can start the year in AAA with less of a need to rush him. Now they were kind of sprinting through Luis Peralez's rehab last year because they were thinking maybe he can help the major league team. Now you put him in AAA without even thinking about, he needs to be he needs to be in Boston by the end of May. Like now it's like, hey, give him time because he really only threw like 2 innings in AAA last year. So like let him develop and grow in AAA and figure things out. And I mean, if he's ready fast, awesome. But now there's not that there's less pressure, I should say. So it's another one of those. It's in the same vein as Brandon Clark, where I think Brandon Clark is a more polished prospect. But it's still like we could be talking about Treviso in 2 years as, damn, he really caught fire, or we could not even really be thinking about him because he's toiling away in the low levels of the minors still. There's a lot of growth with him. But these are the kind of pieces you have to move. And we talked about it with Clark. The Red Sox have so much pitching in the organization that they have to move some of these guys. Like, I mean, you don't have to, but like you're wasting the depth by not moving some of them. Like this is the point of building up a system so good, is to then use these bullets for improving the major league team, whether it be them being the ones to help or them being trade pieces. And the Red Sox are doing a really good job with it. And I know the moves so far aren't the sexiest moves in the world, but they've added 2 major league starting pitchers to their roster, and that's awesome.
I do find it interesting how it feels like the outfield situation in the minor leagues is like it feels like the outfield is crowded, but also not crowded. But then again, they've also traded like between Tibbs, Earhart, Stinson Garcia. Like it feels like they're trading outfielders left and right. But like also too, like you look at it, like when you look at the big league team at the very least, like Roman Anthony, yeah, you're hoping he's going to be here for the next decade plus, right? You're like Wilyer Abreu, if he doesn't get traded, is probably going to be a Red Sox for a while, right? You're hoping Christian Campbell, if he ends up in the outfield, is going to be here for a long time, right? They've committed money to Campbell and Anthony long term, right?
Sadon.
They've committed to Sadon long term, right? Like, so like in some ways, how many outfield spots are there really long term? Like in terms of, so like in some ways, trading away outfielders is like, it's like, well, are kind of locked into guys.
Derrick's just happy because Alan Castro was not moved in the Rule 5 draft, and with Stinson gone, that 100% opens up a spot for Alan Castro.
Switch hitter.
Yes, in Worcester. Yes, I'm going on opening day.
Absolutely.
You will not understand the happiness I will have if Alan Castro is in Worcester on opening day.
I think it's a good chance.
Oh my gosh,
very good.
I don't have a ton of that. There are a couple other interesting things. Big Al's a free agent, so like.
Well, we didn't talk. Hold on, we didn't talk about.
I know, but like we need. I don't want to forget about it.
We didn't finish talking about this trade. Like with this.
No, I know, but like I'm gonna forget about Big Al, and like because like we're gonna go on like 50 other different topics, and I'm gonna forget to mention it, and then we're gonna finish recording, and I'm gonna go, dang it, I forgot to bring it up. Big Al's a free agent. Craig, get on the phone. Someone get on the phone. Bring Big Al back.
Okay. I will do one other quick teaser. We did talk about Big Al with Peyton Tolley.
Oh, okay. I have to listen to that. I haven't finished listening yet. No, I was gonna say, like, we don't have to talk about Yohan Oviedo, but the Red Sox got 2 other guys in that trade, and they're both
Big Al's more important.
Both really interesting. That's fair. I'm not disputing that, but Tyler Samaniego is somebody that I think will have an opportunity to get a spot in the big league bullpen as a lefty, because that is a big need for the Red Sox. They've been linked to some guys, Danny Colombe and Justin Wilson could possibly come back. Obviously, Steven Matt signed elsewhere. And we'll talk in a little bit about the trades that happened around the non-tender deadline and all of that stuff, with the fact that they traded away a couple of the bullpen depth for lefty guys. I think Samaniego could be a guy that's like a Zach Penrod in terms of just like up and down, like, or just, or what Chris Murphy was kind of. And I think that there's obviously he's somebody that the Red Sox targeted. They believe that there's something there that could help them from a bit. He was already on the 40-man roster for the Pirates. So I think that there's get him in the Red Sox system and the Red Sox, pitching development machine, and maybe he comes into spring training and looks very interesting as a pot. And again, being on the 40-man roster, it already helps. And then continuing the sort of trend of like the Red Sox adding more catching depth to the system, Adonis Guzman, 5th round pick this past year. We were talking about Isaiah Jackson was an 8th round pick. Adonis Guzman, 5th round pick this past year out of Arizona for the Pirates. And very, very intriguing, especially considering the fact that he seems like, unlike some of these other guys that they've picked up, Adonis Guzman is like 100% tabbed to be a catcher. And like he is defensively, that is his strength. And he is a very good all-around catcher. And the question with him is going to be, how is his bat going to develop? I think there's promising signs there. So the Red Sox badly in need of this catching depth. Probably goes to Greenville to start next year would be my guess. And maybe immediately kind of becomes like one of the top in terms of overall options as a catcher in the system. That's what Adonis Guzman is. So that's a guy that I will be watching very closely at the start in spring training and into the start of this year to see how he looks in sort of what will be his first full professional season. And a guy that, because he was a Division I college catcher at a top program, and was a top 5 round pick, maybe he's somebody that could move pretty quickly.
Yeah. Like you said, Guzman, this is the second catcher that they traded for that we're going to talk about, where one of the big things in the draft process that he was hyped up for was his defense. So like you said, that is his position. And that's, again, just the Red Sox desperately needed more catching in the system. And they've done such a good job of not just getting names or like bodies, but like legitimately interesting catching prospects. Like he is not the first one we've talked about, and he won't be the last one we talk about, that genuinely bolsters the catching, the catching unit in the minors. It's not like it's just, oh, well, at least now they have another guy. It's like, no, this is another guy who could be a top 30 prospect in the system. That's a good point. When you mentioned like Hunter to talk about the prospects, I was just thinking about, it completely spaced from my mind that they also got prospects back in the trade. This really was a fantastic trade by the Red Sox. Guzman's definitely the more intriguing name to me out of the two prospects. I do agree that Samaniego could become a piece of the bullpen this year. But I just think like long-term Guzman has like that higher upside. And it's really nice to see that there's now questions of who's going to start where. Because last year it was just kind of like Johan Fran Garcia, or like going into this offseason, it was kind of just like, okay, Johan Fran Garcia probably starts in high A with the expectation that he goes up to double A soon. And outside of that, it was just like Gerardo Rodriguez and Jorge Rodriguez in single A, and question marks everywhere. Like maybe Brooks Brandon in double A, and maybe like Andrew Musset in high A. Like there was no definitive like big name. Like it was really just kind of, you had to worry about Johan Fran Garcia. And now it's like we're looking at Johan Fran Garcia and Adonis Guzman and Luke Heyman, who we'll talk about in a minute, and Ronnie Hernandez. And it's like all these guys have to factor in somewhere. And it's nice to have, I don't want to call it a log jam, but it's nice to have enough people to have to create these conversations of, man, where is this guy slotting in right now? And obviously you can have multiple catchers at each level, which is, you will have multiple catchers at each level. It's not as much of an issue as like any other position, really, because especially prospects, it's not like you're going to see them catching 6 times a week. Like it'll be good to have, if it's in high A, let's just say it's Guzman and Garcia to start the year. It's like, okay, one of you catches 4 times this week, the other catches twice. and like the other person DHs on those days, and then the next week you flip it. Like it's a good way to give them a break because catching such a demanding position. And you want to keep these guys rested and healthy. It's a very long season and they're playing 6 games a week. So having enough bodies where you're not just giving people a break to give them a break, you're giving them a break and still having an intriguing prospect at that position. Yeah, the Red Sox, I've said it multiple times now, they did such a good job of boosting the catching system, the catchers in their system this offseason with not just names, but with legitimate prospects.
Yeah, I don't really have a ton else to add on the Oviedo trade. I don't know. Do we want to kind of just gloss over all the kind of moves that happened, and then
let's rapid fire.
Yeah. Well, I'll list the moves, and then we can kind of discuss as we please.
Okay.
So Nathaniel Lowe and Josh Kowski were DFA'd and non-tendered, and see ya.
Unsurprising.
Obviously, Sandlin, Johan, Uberstein, all on the 40-man roster. Luis Guerrero traded for Tristan Gray. Chris Murphy traded for Ronnie Hernandez. Brandon Bernardino traded for Braden Ward. And Alex Hoppe traded for Luke Heyman.
Who?
Alex Hoppe traded for Luke Heyman.
Okay. It sounded like you said Lee Heyman.
No.
It's like, wait a minute.
I was like, wait,
Heyman.
what?
It's my accountant. No,
not Paul Heyman, unfortunately.
Or not John Heyman. Thankfully.
Oh, thank the Lord. Oh gosh. There is another move, but I'll save for later.
So just on the trades, interesting moving out the lefty reliever depth. I think they obviously want to shoot higher, and hopefully they will sign somebody. But we mentioned Samaniego as part of that. I think that Tristan Gray for Luis, the Red Sox had gotten Luis Guerrero off the 40-man roster and then signed him back, right? And then I think that the Rays, were maybe afraid that Tristan Gray was maybe a possible Rule 5 pick. I'm not really sure. But I think that he's somebody that could, I don't know if he's kind of the Nick Sogard, Tyler McDonough, kind of in that mold.
Well, where'd they get Nick Sogard from?
Right, exactly. So I think he could and I think there was stuff, this is a while ago now, and there's so much stuff that's happened. I'm pretty sure that Tristan Gray has really interesting exit velos and hit metrics and stuff like that. And I think the Red Sox were really intrigued by that. Hernandez is a catcher. We'll see what happens with him. Luke Heyman, another guy that was drafted this past year. I think there's more of a question about is he going to be a guy that sticks at catcher or not? But at least there's intriguing bat. Again, a guy that was a catcher at a big program, Florida. And Braden Ward, I don't really have anything on Braden Ward, but so that's all I got on those ones.
Hunter, anything else to add or?
Not really. Really excited about Luke Heyman. I love the power potential. But yeah, no, they did a good job of getting rid of the Alex Hoppe trade. They weren't going to protect him, so they trade him. That was a smart move, and you get a really fun catching prospect back. And yeah, I agree with Jake. He's someone who the position is more of a question mark. But we've seen it with even someone like Brooks Brandon. We saw him take steps this year behind the plate. So maybe they can figure that out. And if they can't, the bat seems interesting enough that it might not matter. Obviously, being a really good hitting catcher adds being a catcher that can hit really well makes you more intriguing. So the hope is that he can stick at the position, but if not, it does seem like the bat should carry him at least to the higher levels of the minor leagues. But no, yeah, just a lot of rap. I think most of those moves were all on the same day.
They were, yeah.
Yeah. So that was just that was a busy day.
It was November 18th.
Yeah, it's sad to see Chris Murphy go. Love Chris Murphy. Topi has a good long career. But yeah.
Not sad to see Josh Winkowski go.
No.
Sad to see Brendan Bernardino go too. He did a lot for the Red Sox.
Yeah, but
and I feel bad for him that he has to go to Colorado because that.
But he'll have a guaranteed big league role there. So
that's true. Yeah. He's not going to be optioned probably very much. So
no,
I did see someone. I forget who it was, so I apologize. I can't credit them, but someone said like Craig's big braining this because Bernardino's going to suck in Colorado because it's Colorado, and they'll just DFA him halfway through the season, and then the Red Sox can just pick him up again. But
that would, you know what? That somehow wouldn't shock me. Somehow it wouldn't shock me. The day before on the 17th, they signed Osvaldo Berrios to a minor league deal. Minor league reliever, probably will be in AAA. Depth piece, right? Interesting. The thing I really want to talk about, first, there's two things, but this is kind of into the same point. The Red Sox on November 7th released Vladimir Asensio. If you don't know who that is, he was part of the 2024 international free agent class, signed for $1 million, played the last 2 years in the DSL, struggled mightily in the DSL, and ended the last month of last year on the restricted list. Not sure why, but the Red Sox released him, which I bring up because it is always interesting because, like, as much as you are signing guys who are 16 years old, they're 16 years old. They're very, very much lottery tickets, even the ones who sign for a lot of money, which goes into the next point I have, that the Red Sox have reached a pre-agreement with Rayer Gonzalez for $3.1 million, and he's part of the class of 2029.
Man, what a business. I don't, it's
this kid's like 12 years old.
Usually that info doesn't come out. So it's interesting. No. It's interesting that this one did, but it's a glimpse into how the system works. And man, is it messed up. It is messed up,
like
man.
12 years old, and they're offering agreed for 3. Imagine like going to your local little league and like, oh yeah, this kid signed a pre-agreement with the Red Sox for $3 million.
Imagine if Bryce Harper has signed for like $5 million when he was 13, which was a possibility.
Yeah, could you imagine
going to Williamsport to watch the Little League World Series, and you're like, oh yeah, this kid playing for Curacao is got a pre-agreement with whatever team, and it's
I feel bad for the kids going up against them because, like, imagine you're like the practice before the game, and the coach is just like, yeah, this pitcher is signed by the Red Sox, and it's like, oh, like clearly
how
he's
much
disgusting.
He signed for $1.5 million.
It's like those videos you see. I just saw one the other day of like the top basketball prospect, and he's in like 7th grade, or he's like 13 years old, and he's doing like sham god dunks. Like he's doing like the between the leg, and it's like, buddy, like people used to think Michael Jordan was a wizard because he could do that, and we got like 13-year-olds do it. Like, if that was me, I would just forfeit I would be like, no, I'm not getting put on your TikTok highlight.
Yeah, imagine being the kid having to guard LeBron after algebra class.
Man.
Trying to figure out the angle of the obtuse triangle, and then you gotta
getting
guard
dunked
LeBron
on 2 minutes later. Yeah.
The starter's not playing today because he skipped his English class. So you know what? Get in there, kid.
my 10th grade chemistry teacher used to brag all the time because there is a picture of him in the newspaper from when he was in high school of him getting dunked on by Kobe. And like he literally had the newspaper clipping like hanging up on his board, and it was literally just Kobe with his nuts in his face. He's like, all right, man, like, cool, you got dunked on by Kobe, but
that's so great.
You couldn't have just got a picture of you just guarding him.
I mean, that was the picture in the newspaper.
Like the thing, like my high school, like our big moment my high school had was Julian Newman came to play against my high school.
Oh God, I can't stand him.
Oh my God.
Oh, nothing infuriates me more than watching him spam the same dribble move for 5 minutes and then
it took overtime. But you know what? We beat that little
because he's bad at basketball. because he's not good
This
at
kid's
basketball.
like 5'3", played varsity basketball in Orlando at like some crappy school since he was like 10 years old. Scored like over 10,000 career varsity points because he played varsity since he was like 10, if not younger.
Watching
Like,
those videos,
He's a stat pat. He's a stat.
Literally,
patter.
he used to shoot from half court.
He was an
and airball.
accumulator.
I genuinely can't tell if the videos infuriate me or if they make me happy because it's just him doing the same dribble move. The defender doesn't move because it's bad. Like he doesn't have to, and then he bricks a three, and then and it's like I love it because it shows how bad he is, and he always loses those games. But I hate it because he'll do it, and then he thinks he's good, and I'm like, buddy, like.
Or he used to.
The defender didn't even
have
have to move, and you missed the shot.
No, right. He got the game that killed his any type of hype because he got like an internet show on Overtime.
Yeah,
like a internet reality show, and he had to play against LaMelo Ball. After
and LaMelo
came back from
destroyed
Lithuania, and LaMelo destroyed him. And he would like the whole year was like taunting LaMelo, like shooting from half court, but they was like airballing like half the time. Like, and this kid's like 5'2", 5'3" on a good day. Like, no.
Yeah,
now he's boxing. He's doing like the like content creator. Boxing
yeah, he's going
stuff.
down the failed content creator pipeline.
Yeah,
miserable.
Yes, but no.
How
the Red Sox.
do we get on this subject?
The Red Sox signing a 2-year-old,
12-year-old.
Oh, right. Yeah. Seriously, like.
Yeah, and our high school,
it's nuts.
Hey.
It's crazy.
Our high school teacher got dunked on by Kobe. In my high school, I got to see Julian Newman lose a game in overtime.
I don't have any story like that from
Yeah, I hope you don't have a story like Julian Newman. That kid was,
no, nothing like that.
You know what was even the worst part about that? Kids at my school were like trying to, or like mobbing him before the game to try and get like pictures with him. Because, he was internet famous.
Yeah,
of course.
Oh, miserable.
So did you ever make your full Albert Feliz point? Because you kind of got cut
they
off.
didn't sign him. Sign him.
I didn't know if like you had more to that.
No, they need to sign him. Like, that's the point. Sign him.
I do think we have a new nickname for him that I had never heard before. When I mentioned him, I told Peyton Tolley, I was like, it's kind of become like this running thing. We always mention him whenever someone played with him. And he said he was going to say something bad about whoever it was. And then when I said Albert Feliz, he just couldn't. He was like, there's nothing bad. But the second I said his name, he shouted Big Happy. So that might be Albert Feliz's nickname, which is just phenomenal. Big Happy.
Great.
Yeah, just continues to not have a single bad word said about him from anyone.
They need to
never.
Albert Feliz at some point when his playing career is done, just hire him to the big league coaching staff.
Please.
There's no limit. You can have as many as you want. Just put them in there as the vibes.
Here's the other thing I don't understand. There's no limit to coaching staff, right? Or whatever. There's no salary cap, no luxury tax. Why don't teams just shell money at coaches and have as many
this is what isn't
too many cooks in the kitchen. You don't want to have 50 different
but I mean like in terms of like the Red Sox having them not having a consistent outfield defense coordinator every level
Dustin Pedroia should be on the payroll.
Guys, come on.
So I think there's
a
limit.
Red Sox.
I think there is a limit to how many guys you can have in the dugout, like in uniform.
Yeah, but you don't have to be in the dugout. You're
but I'm saying
that's most of the point I'm saying.
I think that they're I agree with you, and it's interesting. The money part is interesting because isn't the guy who used to be was briefly the Mets GM and was the assistant Red Sox GM, Zach Scott? Isn't he he's like an agent now who represents managers and coaches, I think maybe too. So he's trying to get those guys more money.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
it's like there's you can only have so many in the dugout, but when it comes to or having coaches at spring training, you don't want a few more, you don't want to shell money to have the best coaches. I understand if the coach doesn't want to leave his team, but there's no reason. Remember when Will Venable, the Rangers hired him? He went from bench coach to assistant manager, which is basically bench coach just with a different title.
Yeah, it was.
They just paid him more money.
He wanted to. I feel like we've talked about this on the show before. It was basically Will Venable is going to do for Bruce Bochy. He's like, I've won 3 World Series, 4, eventually 4. I've done so much stuff. I am going to be in the Hall of Fame. there is a lot of shit around the managerial job that I don't want to do. Will Venables going to do the shit I don't want to do. And that was
And now
pretty
he's
much
the
it.
manager of the White
Now
Sox.
he's the manager of the White Sox. Congratulations.
Which is,
good for him.
he might as well have just stuck with the Rangers because Bochy was going to be gone eventually.
They actually made him the assistant manager too in the White Sox, but nobody noticed.
Yeah,
Will Venables.
But like that's the point. Like you can literally, there's no like it's like the front office thing. It's like people like the GM used to be the top spot, and it's president of baseball ops. Now it's CBO for the Red Sox, and it's like or you have a president of baseball ops. You can now sign a vice president of baseball ops, and they're higher up than the GM, right? And it's like, why? Like, yes.
Well, there's a reason why that exists. There's a very clear reason why that exists.
Yes. Because of interviewing and the rules.
Exactly
with that, but like
Greg Breslow legitimately can't go and interview for another job, unless the Red Sox let him.
Yeah,
because there's nothing what's higher than chief baseball officer.
Yeah, but the point I'm making though is like there's nothing stopping you from making up positions like as coaches or in the front. Like there's
Dustin
nothing
Pedroia for Lord of Infield Defense.
Yes,
I want that exact role.
They need it.
There's nothing stopping you from making stuff up.
I do feel like having a lot of veteran or ex players at spring training is a good idea, just because you have so many young prospects there, and it's just just to use his name again, it's just hey, Dustin Pedroia, go help Christian Campbell and Mikey Romero and Marcelo Meyer and whoever else you have there. Hey, go help them with their infield defense, because who better to learn from than
come
a
around?
five-time Gold Glover.
Why not? He can go help the first baseman or something, or I can't think of other first baseman that off the top of my head right now because I'm drawing a blank, but because Mike Napoli is coaching for whoever, I forget already.
Cubs?
Unless I don't know if they kept him or got rid of him. I don't remember.
They might have got rid of him.
Maybe. I don't know.
At one point, they had 80 ex-Red Sox.
Yes.
But
I was trying to think of a first baseman that wasn't as recent as as Mitch Moreland, and I'm like, who? Not Adrian Gonzalez. No offense to Adrian Gonzalez, but you were a Red Sox for 2 years. I don't know.
Yeah, a year. A year, not even 2 years.
Not even 2
a little
years.
over a year and a half.
Yeah, who's the last
in there?
What'd you say?
Let's get Mo Vaughn in there.
Mo, hit dog, my guy. I love Mo.
He won't help much defensively.
Hey, apparently, it don't matter that much. If you can stick Kyle Schwarber at first base, you can stick anyone there.
Oh boy.
I
don't know if are we doing this? Are we doing this?
Hey,
now?
Bobby Dahlbeck can play shortstop. Apparently,
Bob, stop.
Hey, the White Sox even put him there, so I guess guess there's something to it. I guess I don't know. But yeah, so White Sox have agreed to a deal with the 12-year-old. If I had a contract written up for me for $3.1 million when I was 12, I would probably never do anything the rest of my life. Probably. Just saying. I would sign that deal. No offense to whatever team it would be. I would sign that deal and then just do nothing the rest of my life. I'd turn into Pablo Sandoval, but never get past low A. I'm set, man. I don't think it's not you think about it too. At that age, you get that much money at that age, I don't know. That's
to be fair, they're not getting the money. Their parents are getting the money.
Right. Yeah,
but still, it's arguably better that way because
hopefully it's better that way.
I will hope. True.
But is that all the moves?
Anyone
I got nothing else.
Anyone want to take a guess where Chadwick Tromp signed?
Is it a major league team?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Didn't he go to the Braves? Back to the Braves? Yeah.
Yeah, we went back to the Braves.
That's his place.
I don't know if this was going to be a Shaq Guangdong Tigers situation.
That's a good pull.
Oh gosh. The Mets signed Nick Birdie. So, yeah. Dustin May just signed. Good for him. 2025 World Series champion and member of the Red Sox. No one else can say that.
That's an answer to a trivia question.
Yeah.
What two teams did Dustin May play for in 2025? Oh yeah, the Red Sox also.
Yeah. Hey, Dustin May's going to be great when the Cardinals start him and he pitches 2 1/3 innings, and then they take him out because he's getting to the middle of the order again.
Mhm.
And they're just like, nope, out of here. Oh, it's Steven Matz starting for the Rays. Just why not? I guess. I don't know. Do we have anything else? Is there
No, I
anything
think we're good.
I think we've covered a lot
Past
of
the 2-hour mark.
a lot of territory here today.
We're back.
We're back.
We are
2 hour
back.
mark.
I don't know. I mean, you know,
Did we discuss them signing Jason DeLay way back when, or
They signed Jason DeLay.
they signed Jason DeLay, more catching depth. There you go. I mean,
yeah,
he's
there we go. we
legitimately probably
Yeah.
the third would be the next guy on the 40 man if that is what happened. But
yes.
yeah, no. I mean, you know, we had. I don't know if we have any potential interviews possibly coming up. Obviously, you guys just talked to Peyton Tolley, and that was fun. But you know, this is our. It seems like it's become an annual tradition, our sort of midwinter MiLB crew check-in, and that was
right after the winter
that's what we
meetings
did.
when
Exactly.
not much happened.
So.
Shockingly.
Yeah. All right.
Hey, but
well,
Pete Alonso signed, and I can't wait for him to only hit 20 home runs because Baltimore moved the left field wall back, and then tried to move it back in because Ryan Mountcastle couldn't hit homers, and Ryan Mountcastle still can't hit homers because the wall's still too far back. Eat crap, Baltimore. Shouldn't have moved the wall back in the first place.
Wow. Didn't know you had.
That's why the Red Sox traded Mookie, because they found out Baltimore's going to move the wall back. That's a gem if you're still listening at this point.
Yeah.
That's
I think that's a sign that we need to wrap this up.
yeah. All right. Wrapping it up. Episode 537 for Jake and for Hunter. As always, my name is Derek. Oh God.
I don't even know what's so funny. Yeah, exactly.
Your
mind is gone.
It's 8:23. It's the time my brain is officially just off in La La Land. That's it. Wrapping it up. If anything important happens with the minor leagues, we'll be back at some point. Probably because what else do we have? So like I said, for Jake and for Hunter, my name is Derek. As always, thanks for tuning in to the Minor League Show and the Pesky Report, and we will see you next time.